So today, we're going to dive into the story of Jivandhara Swami, a legendary figure from Jain tradition who, by all accounts, had it all. His journey gives us this really profound lesson on what it actually means to live a happy, truly purposeful life. And this is the central question, right? It's a real puzzle. I mean, imagine having everything you could ever dream of. Looks, success, love, luxury, the whole shebang. Why would you just walk away from all of it? Well, the answer isn't what you'd think, and it reveals a powerful truth about happiness and where to find real peace. Okay, so to really get to the bottom of this, we first have to meet our main guy. Jivandhara Swami was a legendary prince, later a king, who lived way back during the time of Mahavira. And believe me, he wasn't just your average royal. Get this. The scriptures call him a Kāmadeva. That title is a huge deal. It's not just a fancy word. In Jain tradition, it means he was one of only 24 people in the entire history of this cosmic cycle who were so supremely handsome and charming that they were considered love gods among humans. And this status? It's seen as the direct result of a massive amount of good karma built up over many past lives. So these 24 Kamadevas are part of an even more elite group, the 63 Shalakapurushas, or illustrious beings. Their life stories aren't just fairy tales, they're foundational narratives in Jainism, meant to show us how the universal laws of karma and dharma, cause and effect, and living the right way, actually play out in real life. So what does the life of a love god actually look like? Well, for Jivandhara, it was a life of just absolute pleasure. Every single desire was met, and every one of his senses was constantly treated to the best of the best. Now, this is a really crucial point. The Jain scriptures don't look at this phase of his life as some kind of moral failure, like he was weak or sinful, not at all. Instead, it's seen as the ripening of auspicious karma. He was simply and rightfully enjoying the amazing rewards he had earned through good deeds in his past lives. This was his time to experience the absolute peak of worldly success. And just look at the extent of his worldly bliss. We're talking about a life where every single meal was a gourmet feast, every sound he heard was like a symphony, and he was surrounded by nothing but love, beauty, and luxury. Jivandhara wasn't just living the good life, he was living the best life humanly possible. But you know how stories go. Even in a life that seemed absolutely perfect, a crack started to appear. And it wasn't caused by an enemy at the gates or some political plot. No, it was something much more subtle, the inescapable law of karma. An action from his past was about to come knocking. And this is where that law of karma really kicks in. In a previous life, Jivandhara had done something that seemed pretty minor at the time. He playfully, without any real malice, separated a young swan from its parents. Just a moment of carelessness, right? But it was an act that was going to have some serious consequences down the line. You can see the karmic echo perfectly here. The cause? He separates a baby swan from its family for 16 days. The consequence? In his current life, he suffers a painful 16 years separation from his own mother. This experience, happening right in the middle of all his luxury, forced him to realize something profound, the concept of anityatā, or impermanence. He finally understood that even the best worldly joys don't last, and they're always tangled up with some kind of sorrow. So this just sparked a massive shift in how he saw the world. He started to see the huge difference between bhoga, that fleeting pleasure you get from outside stuff, and atma sukha, which is that deep, lasting happiness that comes from your own soul. He realized one was like a temporary high that always crashes, while the other was real, unshakable peace. And this big internal shift wasn't just some philosophical idea he thought about. No, it blossomed into this powerful, active compassion for every living thing around him. And that led to one of the most famous moments of his entire life. There's this incredible story that perfectly shows his transformation. Jivandhara was literally on his way to perform a very important religious ceremony, to make an offering to the great teacher Mahavira. But on the way, he stumbled upon a suffering, dying dog. This was a real crossroads for him. In that moment, he chose compassion over ritual. He put his formal religious duties on hold, took that poor animal into his lap, and just comforted it. This act of karuna, of pure compassion, is this beautiful example of the Jain principle of ahimsa, or non-harm. He realized that helping a suffering being was a far greater spiritual act than any ceremony could ever be. So after he had tasted everything the world had to offer, and after he truly understood its limits, He just knew. He knew it was time for the next chapter. He renounced his entire kingdom, all his wealth, and became a Digambara Muni, a monk who follows a path of intense self-control, ready to walk that final path toward moksha, or ultimate liberation. So let's circle all the way back to our first question. Why did he give it all up? And the answer is pretty simple. From his perspective, he wasn't giving anything up at all. He saw it as an upgrade, trading temporary pleasure for a peace that would last forever. Jivandhara's story really gives us a practical guide for living a balanced life. If you look at these takeaways, the message isn't to reject the world. It's about enjoying your blessings without guilt, understanding that there's a right time for everything, and realizing that true spirituality is about compassion. It's a powerful way to honor both our life in the world and our deeper spiritual potential. And that leaves us with a pretty powerful thought to chew on. Jivandhara's story teaches us that sometimes our greatest successes, our deepest attachments, the very things we enjoy the most, they might just be the lessons that are meant to lead us to our most profound and lasting truths.